And now we're going to start our minutes. We're going to start our regular monthly meeting of Monday, April the 8th, 2019. And with us, as I had mentioned earlier, but you weren't all here, is Jason Prevost, our city clerk. We have councillors David Torgman, Oren Sabag, Mike Cohen, Ruth Kovac, Dita Burku, Stephen Erdely, Sidney Benizri, Mitch Kajavsky, our city manager, Tanya Abramovich, our associate city manager, Nadia DeFuria, and our co-city manager, Jonathan Schechter, director of legal services, and I am your mayor, Mitchell Brownstein, and we will start off shortly with question period. And did I want to announce anything? I just wanted to clarify something from the last meeting, just so people should know. Under the City and Towns Act, every 3 months, we have a pro-mayor, and the pro-mayor is there should I not be able to go to an event or if I'm not available. But I am your full-time mayor, and I will always be here, because some people thought I was taking a 3-month vacation, which I wish I was, but I am not. So Oren Sabag, so every time I'll have to do it, because Councillor Sabag is our pro-mayor for the next 3 months, and I will be sending him on lots of events that I can't make, if I can't, but if I'm double booked. And he's doing a great job so far. So I just wanted to make that clarification for anybody watching this video or anybody who's posting on social media. Yes, I am here full time. So questions. We have Isaac Monet.
I live at 5728 Brookside. There's a walking path that goes from Brookside, passes my house, and goes through to Kildare. I moved in 1982. There was a tar, that path was black tar. And it had been there for years, and it was there for years until 2017, when it was lifted and, what do you call those small stones were spread?
Gravel.
Okay.
Or crushed stone, yeah.
Crushed stone. What happened was that winter, the winter of 2017-18, when the small tractor came and cleared the snow, it moved all the snow and all the crushed stone onto Brookside, where it was then taken by the snow blower and blown up onto my lawn. So I had all that stuff on my lawn. I went to Public Works on Mackle in 2018, last year, asked him if they were ever going to pave it. He said, no, there's no budget to pave it. There's nothing. What they did was they cemented the last 5 feet coming into Brookside. This year, if you go there now, the reason I was given for that change was because the pavement, the tar wasn't safe. If you go there now, there are 3 holes into which, in each hole you can lose a kid. A kid can drown in those holes now because they're all full of water. There's none of that gravel is there. It's a total mess. I'd like to know if something will be done about it.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I will ask for the Public Works Director, who happens to be here tonight, as all staff come to our in-committee meetings, and some stay to public, so thank you, Director Newman, to look into that tomorrow and get back to the resident. We'll give you his information, okay? Thank you so much for coming. So we have that. I just wanted to note for question period, some might notice that clock. It just gives you an idea, like when you're at a conference, of how you're doing, because question period is 3 minutes. You're supposed to ask a question. Is that gentleman very well? He expressed his question very clearly. We all understood it, and then I have my time to give a concise but clear answer. And then you have another follow-up question if you ever want, for 1 minute after subsequent questions. So that's why that's there, and helps us along to let us know how we're doing. Now we have the next questioner, which is Sarah Rapkin. Welcome.
I'm Sarah Rapkin, and I live on Rembrandt. I would like to know if it's ethical or legal for an elected council person to allow their name to be used by their relatives to intimidate their neighbors. We have an incident on Rembrandt for that.
Really, that's a very difficult question for me to answer.
I know.
It's
and
vague.
I sent the
It's very
letters
vague.
to the 2 councillors, but I never got an answer. And it's not, comfortable.
Yeah, well, I suggest that what you do is you either speak to our city manager about it and more,
Who?
the city manager, Tanya Abramovich.
Okay.
And more detail about that tomorrow and give her the specifics and she'll follow up.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, Dr. Michael Wiseman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to start off with a compliment to the City Council and Mayorship on your approach to Bill 21. I know it's not just Côte Saint-Luc, but I think it's a great job you guys are doing. So I wanted to give you applause for that. The second thing is, as a business owner here in Côte Saint-Luc on 5555 Westminster, I would like to see recycling and compost in businesses here in Côte Saint-Luc. Presently, I guess I break city rules by bringing my recycling home. And I'd like to see recycling available for businesses here in Côte Saint-Luc. I know it's private enterprises, you have to talk to Limbeck and so on, but I think if we have the city council approach these businesses to get approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, thank you for that. We'll take that under advisement. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I just,
Councillor Burke would like to give some comments?
Dr. Weisman, I just want to say that our Director of Public Works, who's sitting there and waving to you, has advised me that there is a 40-foot container at the Public Works yard, which is available for, residents to drop off their recycling.
Okay.
Okay, so for the time being, that's available for free. And the whole issue of servicing the commercial properties with recycling and composting is still under review because of everything that's going on with the treatment of these materials. Composting is easier because we know it's being treated, but recycling, because of the shutdown of the Chinese market, there's been some diversion away from recycling. But if you want to use our services in the public work yards, they are available.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, I am also at 5555 Westminster, and I also bring my recycling home. So, I think
recognize
we know-
And you can bring it to
yeah.
Public Works if your bin won't handle it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Toby Schulman. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be home. About a year ago, when I came home from Florida, I came to this microphone and I asked when the lines were going to be drawn on Cavendish South going east onto Fleet. I was assured that they were going to be done. As far as I can see, they were never done. And of course, they're worse than ever. And I'm asking the same question again. I hope it's going to be on the schedule.
We don't do line painting, obviously, in the bad winter months with you missed beautiful weather.
I know.
But now that the weather is getting better, our line painting, it's scheduled to be done. I'm not exactly sure of the timeline, but the weather's getting better, and we have to clean the streets, we have to get rid of all the debris and then paint. What?
I was going to say, we may get 5 to 10 centimeters of snow tomorrow, so I
Please
think
no,
we'll see
please
what
no.
happens with that.
So I've heard, but Cavendish is a very important street.
Yes. Definitely it's on our
Especially
radar.
between Kildare and Côte Saint-Luc Road. And I think that those lines should be drawn. I get very nervous when I have to make my left turn and people are coming into my lane, I'm going into their lane. There has to be lines drawn.
Noted and well taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean-Louis Bolien. Bienvenue.
Hi, merci. I wish I translated my my question in English.
Non, en français, si vous voulez.
Bonjour, Monsieur le maire. Mon nom est Jean-Louis Beaune. Je suis un employé de CAE, une entreprise dont le siège social est situé à Saint-Laurent, sur Côte-de-Liesse, entre l'autoroute 13 et Montée-de-Liesse. Plus de 4000 employés travaillent chaque jour à cet endroit. Depuis 2011, CAE s'est doté d'un club vélo-boulot. Malgré sa situation géographique, 200 employés viennent travailler en vélo, dont plusieurs à l'année. C'est un nombre que nous aimerions augmenter, et pour ce faire, on doit passer par une amélioration des liens cyclables. Je suis ici pour représenter le club vélo CAE. Un lien cyclable sur la route, sur toute la longueur de Cavendish serait beaucoup plus sécuritaire et permettrait d'offrir un lien nord-sud dans cette portion de l'île de Montréal. Ce lien ne servira pas qu'aux employés de CAE, plusieurs autres cyclistes en bénéficieraient. Plusieurs personnes seraient incitées à s'initier à la pratique du vélo-boulot car ce serait plus sécuritaire. Il y aurait moins d'autos sur les routes, ce qui est bon pour l'environnement, et le vélo-boulot est un excellent moyen de se maintenir en forme et en bonne santé. Pouvez-vous me dire quand est prévu de créer une piste cyclable sur toute la longueur de Cavendish pour relier l'arrondissement de Saint-Laurent à ville Côte Saint-Luc et à l'arrondissement Côte-des-Neiges Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, et si le projet fait partie du futur réseau Express Vélo?
Merci. Mais on travaille très fort sur ce dossier. Je travaille avec le conseiller Burko, qui est responsable pour le transport et pour les vélos. Maintenant, je vais vous donner la chance de parole.
Merci. On a la même vision que vous. On aimerait avoir un corridor de transport actif le long de Cavendish. Lors de notre dernière rencontre à la Ville de Montréal avec la personne responsable du transport à la Ville de Montréal, Eric Caldwell, nous avons tous convenu, les villes liées, Ville Mont-Royal, Ville de Hampstead, Ville de Côte Saint-Luc et Montréal-Ouest, avec Côte-des-Neiges, NDG et Saint-Laurent, nous avons tous convenu qu'il s'agit d'un corridor de transport actif, pas seulement d'un corridor de transport pour automobiles, mais actuellement, l'obstacle demeure le même, c'est de négocier une entente avec CP, mais je peux vous dire qu'on avance. Il y a un certain progrès qui se fait, très, très lent, mais on avance. Et lorsqu'il va y avoir un projet de Cavendish pour le prolongement du boulevard Cavendish, c'est sûr et certain qu'il va y avoir une allée express pour les vélos et pour le transport actif et aussi pour le transport en commun. Ça, c'est reconnu, mais actuellement, on ne peut pas traverser les cours de triage de CP, car les cours de triage de CP, comme vous savez, sont le territoire privilégié de cette compagnie et ils ne nous permettent pas de traverser, même si on voudrait passer juste pour aller au métro, par exemple. Ouais.
Okay, merci. Une réponse de même.
Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Merci, merci. OK.
Mais on a reçu vos lettres et j'ai vos lettres dans mes chemises. Mais vous pouvez nous retourner encore une lettre. C'est bon d'avoir quelque chose plus à jour, si vous voulez nous l'envoyer. Merci.
Laurie Sendell.
Hi, good evening. I live on the corner of Lockwood and Kildare, and there's an ongoing problem with the way people are turning onto Lockwood from Kildare. I pay for parking, I park either in front of my house or across the street from my house on my alternate days during the winter, and almost every morning as I step onto the street, and I'm right at the corner, so I'm crossing in plain view of I'm about to get nabbed.
Okay.
And I'd like to know if we can put poles up or a stop sign or something. It's important. Like, I now have a 1-year-old nephew that visits. It's a nightmare.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll refer to the traffic committee. They meet regularly, and we'll make sure that this is on the agenda to see what they can come up with. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Okay. Without any further questions, I'm going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Councillor Kovac,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So moved for March the 11th, 2019.
seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? The minutes are passed unanimously, and now we move on to business arising from the minutes. Departmental reports, moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Cohen. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Cohen.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, we were talking about this in recent weeks. Over the last year, our city manager, Tanya Abramovich, has been drafting policies to help streamline the decision-making process And to that end, Côte Saint-Luc, the City of Côte Saint-Luc social media policy, of which we're now reviewing, Council's reviewing the first draft, will establish and outline the principles of use for the city staff when engaging and posting on the city's social media accounts or microblogging accounts. A large part of the policy will be on the rules that govern the CSL Ideas discussion forum on Facebook and other online locations. So the city will be adopting this policy at our next public meeting on May the 13th. In the interim, Darrell Levine, who is the moderator and the person responsible for that page, if you've noticed, he's already kind of implemented some subtle changes, and we think we're going to move in a very good direction for this policy. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. We look forward to sharing this full policy with the public a month from now. Just keeping with one of our commitments after the last election for Open City, we are proud that next week we will have, for the first time in many years, a full-time webmaster joining our communications team. So Maryse Bazare will be joining the Darrell Levine's team, and that's going to add an extra person in the office, which will allow us to do a lot more than we've been doing in the past couple of years. So we'll look forward to telling you more about that again, also next month, sorry. And finally, just a reminder that it's time for renewal of dog owners for their dog licenses. And we've gotten some calls. We got some calls last year through the Dog Owners Committee and from emails in recent weeks of people who work who have a problem renewing their dog license during the day. So I'd like to thank our Director of Finance, Angelo Marino. He will have staff available on April 25th in the evening. So we will publicize that on social media and we'll blog it so that people who do need to renew their dog license by May 1st can come on April 25th in the evening. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our library has some nice renovated area. It's a collaborative space. It's an area where you can go and do work and speak. It's not a quiet space in the library, but it's separated from the rest of the library, and it's a beautiful place to work. You should go visit it. We had a tax clinic this month, and it was for anyone who needed help in filing their tax returns. We had even one of our councillors volunteer his time. And coming up May 4th and May 5th, we have what's called Jane's Walk. It's an interesting walk through the city. It's rain or shine, and you get to find out a little bit more about Côte Saint-Luc. It's animated, and the animator is phenomenal, knows the history of Côte Saint-Luc, and gives you little tidbits about where we came from and where we're going. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman. Anyone else? Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Annually, Côte Saint-Luc holds its blood drive. And as you can see from the poster, needing blood knows no age, whether they're infants, teenagers, elderly, the need for blood is ever present. Sometimes Quebec has to go to special clinics, but we always hold this one here. It's at the ACC. It's on Tuesday, May the 7th, from 1:30 to 8 o'clock, so it'll accommodate everybody who works. Come with your kids after school, but it's one of the most important things you can do without having to go into your wallet. So I really do hope that people come and attend the clinic and give the gift of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac. Anything else? Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start on the finance side to give a few updates. As a reminder, the first installment of taxes was due on February 27th. Hopefully, everyone got it in on time. The second installment is due on May 28th. So if you haven't written a pre or post-dated check, you'll be getting a reminder in the mail from the finance department. Just remember to try to send it out a few days before, or if you're doing it online, to do it a day or two before, just to make sure that it is processed on time. We're also beginning our year-end audit, which started this week, started actually today, and will go till early May, after which point I'll be able to report the findings of the final financial statements, or audited financial statements. On the environmental side, I wanted to mention that April 17th, 18th, and 19th, there'll be a spring cleaning waste drop-off at the Public Works Department, so residents who are interested can come by to drop off any large waste products. It could be large recyclable items, garbage. And it's special for Passover. Yeah. Yeah. So at night, it's every day on the 17th and 18th till 8 p.m. in the evening, and on the 19th in the morning from 7:30 till 3 p.m. So it's a good opportunity. You can look on the city's website or on Facebook page for more information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Erdely. Anyone else? No, I just want to highlight a couple of things I noticed in the Parks and Recreation Department report. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Kovac for speaking at the Women's Club and bringing the police with her, members of the police force who were present to talk about the service that they give to the city of Côte Saint-Luc and the Bank of Canada, and that as a council, we're all available to help and assist and speak at various clubs and the Women's Club. And I met with the Women's Club executive a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about ways and ideas that they have to expand their club. I also want to mention that we have a very great initiative in terms of musical theater coming up in Côte Saint-Luc. It's Cabaret, which is more than just a musical. It's also the story of the 1930s in Germany and the difficult times and with Nazism on the rise. And we're bringing this show, we're bringing the high school students to see the show. So if you have any high school students or contacts there and they want to see the show in a matinee, we can certainly arrange that. They're putting on, I think, 24 shows from the middle of May until the end of, till June 7th. June 16th. So that's very exciting too. So if there's nothing else, we're moved and seconded on the departmental reports. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to Eleanor London Public Library, item 5A, Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the council hereby approves and adopts the City of Côte Saint-Luc anti-bedbug policy annexed hereto to form an integral part hereof.
Moved by Councillor Torgman, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
So very quickly, we've had a policy, it was very short, but we've had a policy, a procedure in the library to check books as they come in. There's a problem in libraries across the country of bed bugs, and it gets transmitted through the books. So we've always been checking them, and now we have a strict policy, and we've verified the whole library. We even engaged, they have sniffer dogs that come in. We've checked the whole library, and luckily we found no bed bugs anywhere. So the library has maintained a very high level of essentially it's being cleanliness and being careful as the books come back. So we're going to continue this. What we're doing here is just formalizing the policy that we have to ensure that our books are safe and that our residents are safe as well.
Yeah, and it's very important that we do have this policy because staff are properly trained to check every book. And they do catch the odd bed bug in a book, and then it's properly sealed in a plastic bag, put in a freezer, whatever has to be done to bring it back to its proper state, and it doesn't get put back on the shelves until we know that there is no chance for any bed bug to be entering our facility. So it is an important policy. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And now we move to item 5B. Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the City Council hereby amends the aforementioned resolution to include the addition of include the amount of $1,950 plus applicable taxes to be paid to Duo FL Renovations was required to finalize the installation. That Treasurer Certificate number TC 190074, dated April 1st, 2019, has been issued by the Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. That the City Council approves the borrowing pursuant to the non-interest-bearing loan from its working fund for this expenditure, item number WF 2018 PW20. That the City shall provide every year out of its general fund a sum sufficient to repay the loan back into its working fund, and that the terms of repayment shall not exceed 5 years.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman. Seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
So this is just it's a renovation to the circulation desk that we've done. There's a small addition to just to finish it up for $1,950, and we're just borrowing that from our internal working fund.
So moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 5C. Councillor Torjman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Que le règlement 2529 intitulé Règlement établissant la grille tarifaire de la bibliothèque publique Eleanor London, Côte Saint-Luc pour avril 2019 à août 2019 soit et est par la présente adopté.
Moved by Councillor Torjman, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
This is just the bylaw creating a fee schedule for everything that the library does, and we have an obligation to pass a resolution adopting it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? You're all in favor? Okay. Carried unanimously. We move on to item number 6A. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the loan bylaws mentioned in the first paragraph of the preamble be financed by bonds in accordance with the following conditions. The bonds, one bond per maturity, will be dated April 24th, 2019. Interest will be payable semi-annually on April 24th and October 24th of each year. The bonds will not be redeemable in advance. However, they may be redeemed with the consent of the holders in accordance with the Act regarding municipal debts and loans. The bonds will be registered in the name of the Canadian Depository for Securities Limited, CDS, and filed with it. CDS shall act on behalf of its members as a registrar for the book-based system, bond-holding officer, and paying officer in charge of the transactions for the members as described in the agreement protocol duly signed by the Minister of Municipal Affairs of Quebec and CDS. CDS will proceed with the transfer of funds according to legal requirements of the bonds, and for that purpose, the Côte Saint-Luc City Council authorized the City Treasurer to sign the documents required by the Canadian banking system entitled Autorisation pour le plan de débit préautorisé destiné aux entreprises. CDS will make payments for the principal and interest to members through electronic fund transfers, and for this purpose, CDS will directly withdraw the required amounts from the following account: the Royal Bank of Canada, Cavendish and Kildare branch, that the bonds shall be signed by the Mayor and the City Treasurer. The City of Côte Saint-Luc, as entitled by law, has mandated CDS to act as its fiscal authenticator agent, and the bonds will only become valid once they have been authenticated, and that with regard to the annual depreciation of capital planned for the years 2025 and following, the future term of the loan of the following loan bylaws, number 2261 and 2290, is shorter than the term originally signed, namely for a term of 5 years, as of April 24, 2019. Instead of the prescribed term for such amortization, each subsequent issue being for the balance or part of the balance due on that loan, that in light of the April 24, 2019 bond issue, the original term of loan bylaws 2261, 2287, 2290, 85-5-001, 85-5-010, and 2314 be extended by 2 days.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Seconded by Councillor Kajawski. Any discussion?
So just to explain, what this is refinancing 6 loan bylaws that were made in the years, 2007 to 2000, or sorry, I should say 2005 to 2009. So what we are in effect doing is similar to what a resident would do when you renew your mortgage. Even though you get, let's say, a 25-year or 20-year amortization, every 5 years or so you have to renew it. So we are in the process of renewing this bond. We don't have the interest rate yet, but we should be getting that in the next few days. Hopefully we'll get a very low interest rate, and of course we always go with the lowest rate. And this has to do with 6 bylaws dealing with things such as repair to roofs of city buildings, repaving roads, and water infrastructure. And of course, again, the work was done in the years 2005 to 2009. Thank you.
So moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. And now we move to item 6C. Councillor Erdely. 6B.
6B.
6B. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of March 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2019 for a total amount of $18,945,121.04 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer's Certificate number 19-0073 dated April 1st, 2019 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Seconded by Councillor Kajawski. Any discussion?
So just to mention, this is obviously much more than our normal. In a normal month, our disbursements would be in the vicinity of $3-4 million. So the reason this is so high is because this includes our first installment of the agglomeration, which is about $14.5 million. There's also our first payment for the CMM, or the Communauté Métropolitaine de Montréal, as well. And so those are the two of the largest items in the disbursements. Thank you.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 7, Human Resources. 7A, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Octavian Gutu, Javier Cuevas, Karim Hamadashi, Nikita Chabanu, and Devin Kreutzer as Côte Saint-Luc Aquatic Swim Team coaches into the management positions for fixed-term contracts as stipulated on the attached list entitled Appointment of Coaches, Management Fixed-Term Contracts. Treasurer Certificate number 19-0072, dated April the 1st, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky? I think so, if you'd like. Any discussion? Nope. So moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 7B, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the status change of Jean-Sébastien Prévost's position as the CSLA swim team coach from contract management to permanent management effective January the 2nd, 2019.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion? Speaks for itself. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to 7C, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the status change of Dionysus Kopitas' position as the customer service supervisor from contract management to permanent management effective April the 1st, 2019.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion?
Most of you know him as Dennis.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item D. Councillor Burku. 7D.
Here.
She got it.
Be it resolved that, hang on, almost there. Okay. Be it resolved, the Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby approves the mandate extension of Erica Botner, Public Engagement Coordinator for the Smart Cities Challenge, for a fixed term effective from March 8th, 2019 to May 16th, 2019. That the Treasurer's Certificate number 19-0068, dated March 27, 2019, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion?
Simply to say that Erica was a very important member of our Smart Cities team, and she was, as the engagement coordinator, she was working with all the participants who were working on, were participating in the pilot project. Our project was submitted on March 5th, and we're going to find out on May 14th if we are going to be one of the winners. And in the interim, she's pursuing this project by overseeing the pilot candidates who still have the smart home devices in their homes. And it's working out quite nicely, so we extended her contract until May 16th.
Thank you, Councillor Burku. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, so seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. And now we move on to E, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees White-Collar Hiring, dated March the 28th, 2019, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement, and that the Treasurer's Certificate 19-0071, dated March the 29th, 2019, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajavsky. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, these are approximately 30 employees, half of which are Côte Saint-Luc residents, who will become our lifeguards for the outdoor pool, as well as cashiers and some for the indoor pool.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item F, Councillor Torchman.
Thank you,
7F.
Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of Julia Miel as temporary library clerk, white-collar auxiliary position, effective March 20th, 2019. That treasurer's certificate number 19-0069 dated March 27th, 2019 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Torgman, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
Just the hiring of a temporary library clerk at the...
Very good. Moved and seconded. All in favor? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 8, legal services. 8A, Councillor Burku.
Hang on a second. Be it resolved. C'est en français?
Comme vous voulez.
I don't-
This is the English version, but as you
Oh, okay.
wish.
All right. I'll read in English.
I don't know if I-
Whereas the financing of public transportation agencies originates from municipal and provincial resources and also from tariffs paid by users of the road network, whereas public transportation agencies periodically provide their boards of directors with a report summarizing their performance indicators, whereas these indicators, which include very diverse information such as traffic, customer satisfaction, bus punctuality, percentage of services, etc., whereas the Toronto Transit Commission and other Canadian agencies publish such indicators on a monthly basis, whereas some quality of services indicators are already published on the websites of public transportation agencies, be it resolved, the City of Côte Saint-Luc asks the 9 transportation agencies and EXO that provides the service on the island of Montreal to provide their monthly quality of service indicators so that they can be submitted each month during their Board of Directors public meetings. That the city asks the 9 transportation agencies and EXO to publish every month all their quality of services indicators on their websites, and that the city forwards this resolution to the municipal councils of other cities being served by a transportation agency and to the metropolitan and to the Montreal metropolitan community for EXO.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
Yes, so let me explain the reason for this resolution. We, as a city, are facing some very serious transportation issues. I don't have to tell you how difficult it is to get in and out of Côte Saint-Luc, whether you use Van Horn Fleet, whether you use Queen Mary and wind your way through Ellerdale and so on and so forth, Côte Saint-Luc Road. It's a challenge. And we've been trying for the past year, actually, since we set up, we adopted a transportation policy and a strategy. We're trying very hard to influence the STM, the ARTM, and to our neighboring cities as well to help us in facilitating and accelerating and improving the quality of transport. But as you know, there's more and more development. There's more development on Décarie, and there's more development inside Côte Saint-Luc, which we'll soon be announcing. There's lots of projects. As the chair of urban planning, I can tell you there's many, many projects that are being proposed. So we're going to have more people and more cars, and we need to move people, not cars. So we need to have this information from the transport agencies. We need them to make it public. We need to know how many people are using the train that passes through Côte Saint-Luc 4 or 5 times in the morning and 4 or 5 times at night, but we can't get on that train, the train that goes along Bailey through to Montreal West, goes from Saint-Jérôme, Chabanel, all the way to Montreal West and downtown. We need to have those stats. We need to know how often, how the STM is operating and so on and so forth. And so this is basically to ask those agencies to give us more information and to be more transparent and more forthcoming with that information.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to items 8, B, C, D, and E, which our Co-City Manager, Director of Legal Services, Jonathan Schechter, will explain.
These are all clerical corrections which the law permits me to make, but I must table them at a subsequent council meeting. So the first one is an extremely minor variance of 6 cents. We adjusted the resolution to be consistent with the actual documentation, the cost of the last partition. The second correction was a footnote where there was a renegotiated insurance premium and deductible successful to the city, which was reoccurring during the 5-year contract. So the footnote did not have to be be indicated in the reoccurring renewal of this contract because the successful negotiation was already there. And then the remaining ones were items that were added under other business, but did not make it into the transcription of the minutes because they were added under other business. So we have now added them to the actual minutes after reviewing the videotape and the documentation. So all the corrections have now been inserted within the minutes, and they are all now officially part of the minutes.
Thank you, Maître. Thank you, Maître. And now we will move on to item number 9. 9A, Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to read the whereases as well because it's quite important. Whereas 12.7 million Canadian volunteers devote their time to help others, contributing close to 2 billion volunteer hours per year. Whereas volunteers in the city of Côte Saint-Luc perform tasks such as mentoring children, comfort the lonely, beautify green spaces, and fundraise for charitable organizations. Whereas the volunteers in the city are highly diverse, being both young and old, composed of individuals and entire families in the workforce and retirees, men and women, all of whom come from various backgrounds. Whereas the collective result of the work done by our city's volunteers at the city is a more desirable place to live. Whereas volunteers in the city play such diverse roles, including assisting with organization of special events, coaching many youth-related sports teams, and providing much-needed support in various social agencies such as senior residences and local hospitals. Whereas the city relies on fundamental organizations throughout its territory, such as the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society, Emergency Medical Services, our VCOPS, which is Volunteer Citizens on Patrol, the Côte Saint-Luc Women's Club, the Côte Saint-Luc Men's Club, the Community Gardens, the Royal Canadian Legion Brigadier Frederick Kish Branch, number 97, the Loose Threads Quilting Club, the Scrabble Club, the After Dinner Ukulele Society, Creative Social Center, the Côte Saint-Luc Minor Hockey and Figure Skating Club Associations and the Côte Saint-Luc Adult Sports Associations, and the Côte Saint-Luc Tennis Club and Côte Saint-Luc Dog and Cat Committee, as well as the library and culture volunteers. And whereas the volunteers play a critical role in impacting the decision-making processes on important issues for the city of Côte Saint-Luc by sitting on committees such as the library and culture, as well as sponsorship, it is proposed and resolved that the city of Côte Saint-Luc hereby ratifies a decision to proclaim April the 7th to April the 13th, 2019 as National Volunteer Week in the city of Côte Saint-Luc, and urges the residents of Côte Saint-Luc to recognize the crucial role played by Côte Saint-Luc volunteers. And further, that this proclamation be forwarded to the national, provincial, and local volunteer bureaus and appropriate media to inform them of the city of Côte Saint-Luc's recognition of all its volunteers.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? Councillor Kovac.
I just want to add that annually, Côte Saint-Luc honors close to 400 volunteers in the fall. Every year we do this, and it's never enough. We say thank you to our volunteers.
Yes, we do. And if you'll see on the wall, you'll see the different years, the people who won awards in 2016 and 2017, and how they were honored at a special event. And without them, we wouldn't be the community that we are. There are so many volunteers serving our community, and we work together with them to make our city provide the services that we do. So we thank them from the bottom of our heart, and this is the week that they're recognized nationally, but we recognize them here in Côte Saint-Luc every day. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to item 10, Public Works, le conseiller Bénézerie.
Merci. Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc, conseil, par la présente, exerce son droit aux 2 années optionnelles en vertu de l'appel d'offres C-20-18-20 à l'égard de la coupe de gazon sur les lots vacants publics et octroie un contrat à Régis Bégin incorporé pour l'année 2019 pour un montant total de 21 440 $ plus les taxes applicables, ainsi qu'un contrat pour l'année 2020 pour un montant total de 21 545 $ plus les taxes applicables. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 19-0064 a été émis le 20 mars 2019 par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses de l'année 2019.
Proposé par le conseiller Bénézerie, appuyé par le conseiller Kovac. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
No, this is an option, for the contract for cutting the grass in our public lots, vacant lots, if I can say.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we go to 10B. Le conseiller Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Alors, est résolu que le conseil municipal, par la présente, octroie un contrat à IPL Incorporé pour l'achat de bacs bruns pour la somme de 41 060,20 $ plus les taxes applicables. Que le conseil municipal approuve le financement de cette dépense des revenus reportés subventionnés des redevances. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 19-0063 a été émis le 4 avril 2019 par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Kovac. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? No.
Brown being.
Brown bin purchased.
Brown
Okay,
bin,
number,
lovely.
thank you. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item number C, Councilor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc conseille par la présente octroie un contrat pour l'achat d'un tracteur à gazon 4x4 de marque John Deere 1600 ou équivalent à Centre agricole JLD LD incorporé à la suite de l'appel d'offres C-10-19 pour le montant de 85 918 $, plus les taxes applicables. Que les dépenses décrites seront financées par le règlement d'emprunt numéro 2526, déjà approuvé par le ministère des Affaires municipales et occupation du territoire. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro TC19-0066, daté du 27 mars 2019, a été émis par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Kovac. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? No.
To buy a tractor.
Buy a
lawn
truck,
tractor.
4x4 lawn
Yeah.
truck, lawn tractor. Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We go to D, Councilor Benizri.
Thank you. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc conseille par la présente octroie un contrat à 3 Diamants Auto 1987 limité pour l'achat d'une camionnette Dodge Ram 1500 GT 2019 conformément aux conditions de l'appel d'offres sur invitation C-12-19 pour la somme de 42 143,38 $, plus les taxes applicables. Que la dépense décrite sera financée par le règlement d'emprunt numéro 2526, approuvé par le ministère des Affaires municipales et occupation du territoire. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 19-0076 a été émis le 2 avril 2019 par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Kovac. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? No, it's another purchase of a Dodge Ram vehicle. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item E, Councilor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc conseille par la présente octroie un contrat à terrassement multipaysage incorporé pour l'achat et la plantation d'arbres conformément aux conditions de l'appel d'offres sur invitation C-09-19 pour la somme de 43 722,39 $, plus les taxes applicables. Que la dépense décrite sera financée par le règlement d'emprunt numéro 2503, approuvé par le ministère des Affaires municipales et occupation du territoire. Que le certificat du trésorier numéro 19-0067 a été émis le 27 mars 2019 par le trésorier de la ville, attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Kovac. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
This is to buy trees for planting during the summer.
Very important. Moved
Yeah.
and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously for more trees. And now we move to item 10F, Councilor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le Conseil, par la présente, ratifie les dépenses supplémentaires encourues pendant l'année 2018 dans le cadre du contrat avec Recyclage Notre-Dame Incorporé au montant de 36 091,69 $, plus les taxes applicables. Que le Conseil, par la présente, exerce son droit aux 4 années optionnelles en vertu de l'appel d'offres numéro C-01-18-22 pour la disposition de résidus de balais et de résidus provenant du dépôt à neige municipal octroyé antérieurement au Recyclage Notre-Dame Incorporé, et ce pour les montants maximaux estimés suivants. 2019, 75 000 $ plus les taxes applicables. 2020, 76 $500 plus les taxes applicables. Année 2021, $78 030 plus les taxes applicables. Pour l'année 2022, $79 590 et 60 cents plus les taxes applicables. Que, de plus, chaque année, la Ville peut considérer un montant de 10% plus les taxes applicables au cas où la quantité réelle de déchets serait supérieure à l'estimation, lequel doit d'abord être approuvé selon les procédures de la Ville. Que le certificat du trésorier TC 19-0070, daté du 2 avril 2019, a été émis par le trésorier municipal attestant de la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites pour l'année 2019. Qu'un certificat du trésorier doit être obtenu avant le 15 avril de chacune des autres années optionnelles pour attester de la disponibilité des fonds nécessaires pour couvrir la portion du contrat de l'année respective.
Merci. Appuyé par le conseiller Benizri. Proposé par le conseiller Benizri. Appuyé par le conseiller Kovac?
No.
No, this one's, yeah. Disposal of waste?
I thought it was Stephen.
Okay. We have Councillor
Okay.
Burku, moved by Councillor Benizri, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion? Disposal of waste? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item number 11, which is the item that many of you here have been waiting for. Item 11A, Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby accepts the offer to purchase agreement with the purchaser in regards to the property, and this for the amount of $500,000 plus applicable taxes. That the mayor and city manager be authorized to sign the offer to purchase agreement on behalf of the city, as well as ensuring notarial deed of sale incorporating the terms of the aforementioned offer to purchase agreement.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Benizri. Any discussion? Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. La ville de Côte Saint-Luc a une croissance qu'on voit à cause de la communauté qui a choisi Côte Saint-Luc. La communauté du Collèle investit dans notre ville et on a une obligation d'ouvrir nos yeux et de travailler avec la communauté. La vente du terrain a un prix important, a un revenu pour la ville, mais le vrai impact est beaucoup plus important que ça. Dans un temps où on voit une aversion à l'expression de notre choix de religion, c'est beau de voir une communauté qui est en telle croissance qu'ils ont besoin d'une nouvelle maison pour accueillir tous et toutes qui veulent apprendre, célébrer tout ce qui est de plus beau et de trouver un système de support qu'on en a besoin. I'm proud to see a community that has outgrown their home and is in need of another home, a home for the whole community, a home that I will be proud to see built tomorrow.
Thank you, Councillor Torchman. Any other discussion? Councillor Benizri or Councillor Benizri? You seconded the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Benizri.
Thank you. Juste pour ajouter ce qu'a dit le conseiller Torchman, je pense ce qu'on voit ici, c'est un peu le résultat finalement un petit peu du dévouement et du travail qui a été fait par la communauté. On voit de plus en plus ça attire de plus en plus de jeunes familles qui viennent s'installer à Côte Saint-Luc. Et je pense que c'est un petit peu ce que vient de dire le conseiller Torchman en parlant de croissance. Et je pense qu'il y a un renouveau à Côte Saint-Luc et c'est important qu'on puisse maintenir. Et je pense que le travail qui est fait par la communauté est important. Tout le service qui est donné et pour garder cette unification et cette union dans la communauté, je pense que c'est très important. Le geste qu'on est en train de porter aujourd'hui, de voir cette communauté se développer. Et j'aimerais vous féliciter pour tout le travail que vous faites à Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Benizri. Any further discussion? Councillor Burku.
Oh, now you're on.
Oui, OK. Alors, je suis très contente de parler ce soir avec une si grande auditoire. On a une occasion de vraiment voir le support qu'a ce projet. Et quand le conseiller Torchman dit que the community has outgrown their home and they need to move on to another home, ça c'est un thème que j'aimerais reprendre. Et aussi quand on parle de renouveau. Parce que j'aimerais vous expliquer exactement ma position par rapport à cette situation. Je vais m'exprimer en anglais parce que j'ai écrit mes notes en anglais, mais peut-être que je vais faire des commentaires en français aussi. Council today will be voting on the sale of public land near the Public Works Yard to a foundation to be used for religious purposes. This has come up as a result of a few years of discussion and negotiations. This is not the first time the city is doing this. You may recall we did it in the past for Chabad. And in principle, I am not opposed to this sale or to considering accommodation for religious institutions. In fact, over the past 20 years, we have tolerated many religious places of worship in residential zones that did not comply with zoning. As we all know, Côte Saint-Luc is a city of tolerance. We have tolerated places of worship for a long time. In the past decade, there's been a marked increase in the number of synagogues which have sprung up in homes, duplexes, and even commercial strip malls, and generally the city has tried to accommodate. Even though they are not zoned for that purpose, we have tried to assist them in integrating into the community. There's been many issues of traffic, good neighbor issues. We've tried our best to accommodate, and I've always been in favor of that accommodation. What is less well known is the issue of tax exemption, and this is my fundamental issue. Once these properties are used for religious purposes as places of worship, they apply to the City of Montreal Evaluation Department for tax-exempt status, and they get it. This means that the taxes which would normally be paid by the owners are now being covered by the taxpayers of Côte Saint-Luc and many of you who are sitting here today. The foundation, Sepharad Kollel Avraham, Sephardic Kollel Avraham Foundation, is related to a few not-for-profit organizations that operate and own many properties in Côte Saint-Luc. This organization, as well as the related organizations of Congrégation Retour d'Israël, Congrégation Shuva Israel, Yeshiva Or Israel, are all located and established in Côte Saint-Luc within the main address of 5750 Park Haven and other addresses on Eldridge. Over the past few years, these organizations have established themselves as places of worship, namely on Park Haven, and as places of residences for rabbis, mainly on Eldridge. As Côte Saint-Luc is a city of tolerance, even though the property on Park Haven was never zoned or approved for religious worship, we tolerated it, I tolerated it, and allowed the rabbi and this congregation to use it as a kollel and synagogue, even allowing them to transform the entire duplex into a place of worship. They came to the city, they asked the city if they put in some special features, fire exits, and etc. We agreed to it. They never had the proper zoning, as this property is situated in a residential zone for duplexes, but they applied to the City of Montreal Evaluation Department for tax-exempt status. They got it, and once they got it, the rabbi also got tax-exempt status for his home, much like many other synagogues are operating in Côte Saint-Luc. Once the synagogue gets tax exemption, the rabbi gets it on his home. So that's two. In July 2015, the rabbi and the representatives from this congregation came to the city with a proposal. They wanted to expand their activities and were willing to do an exchange. They gave us an undertaking in writing, I have it here today, that if the city would agree, they would trade in their non-conforming, because Park Haven is not according to the zoning. It's not zoned for religious. It's not like Beth Zion or TBDJ that has religious institution zoning. It's in a duplex. So they were willing to give up their non-conforming use on Park Haven for a legally zoned synagogue on Mackle next to the Cavendish Mall. And I have the terms of the agreement. I'm not going to read them to you entirely, but it's very clear that the Kollel would give up their use of Park Haven in exchange for having a legally zoned new place of worship. We have it in writing, and we agreed. The council agreed, I agreed. I thought this was a fair deal. However, it must be said at the time, in July 2015, we did not know that the Kollel and its related organizations had or was in the process of acquiring a series of properties on Eldridge and Côte Saint-Luc in order to convert them into residences for rabbis and obtain further tax-exempt status. We only learned about this much later in 2016. What we learned is that because they had the Park Haven property, they were able to use that status on Park Haven, which is not non-conforming to ask for tax-exempt status for these other properties as satellites or accessories to the Parkhaven congregation. So because of our generous tolerance, the Kollels, starting in 2015, had another 3 tax-exempt duplexes at the rate of $8,000 or $7,000 a year in taxes, which they didn't have to pay, which means that by 2017, or 2016 actually, this brought them to a total of 5 tax-exempt properties, which in 2017 represented a loss of over $30,000 a year in taxes every year. Today, this loss of taxes is greater than $30,000, and the municipal value of these 5 properties, which are in the hands of the Kollel, is $2.8 million. Notwithstanding all these other tax-exempt properties, in March 2017, the city, my council, in good faith, launched the rezoning. We said, you want to do a trade? You want to exchange Parkhaven for a zoned property on Mackle? We'll do it. We went through the rezoning, and we proceeded to the public consultations and the rezoning. As you know, the rezoning failed. At the same time in 2017, it failed because there was a public outcry because the residents asked for a referendum, and the referendum, the council ultimately decided not to go for a referendum because it was clear that the referendum would defeat the rezoning. At the same time in 2017, Councillor Benizri and myself were appointed by the council to meet with all the rabbis and religious leaders to see if we could come up with some kind of agreed policy to deal with the increasing number of religious institutions in residential zones. And I don't need to tell you that since 2017, we've had more religious institutions coming in to residential zones because Côte Saint-Luc is a city of tolerance. That meeting was well attended, but we did not reach any positive outcome on how to share established places of worship. We know there are many established congregations. I don't need to name them. You know where they are. The big buildings that are not as busy as the new organizations that are coming up, the new congregations. And these established congregations are having a hard time maintaining their properties, and all the while, more and more independent houses of worship are popping up in residential zones. This is simply not fair to the established congregations. As well, in 2017, the city tried to contest the tax exemptions for the properties on Eldridge, which were deemed to be rabbis and residences, the homes for the Kollel. This was a new category of exemption we had never seen before. I'm a councillor for almost 30 years, and I've never seen that kind of exemption for rabbis and residents. They found an article in the law that allowed them to do this. Our contestation was not successful, and in July 2017, the Kollel and their related organizations succeeded in convincing the administrative tribunal, Tribunal Administratif, that their tax exemptions for their residences on Eldridge were legal, since these duplexes were being used to house rabbis who serve the Kollel, which resides on Parkhaven, which is non-conforming. So the logic is basically that the city, by tolerating Parkhaven, by generously being tolerant, had triggered the loss of taxes not only on Parkhaven and the rabbis' residents, but on all the related duplexes, because they argued that the rabbis and residents service the Kollel and the related organizations. This is where, in my opinion, tolerance leads to abuse. This brings me now to the sale of city land. Soon after the last election in November 2017, the majority of the new council decided to entertain the sale of the public land next to the Public Works Yard to the Kollel to replace the rezoning project which failed near Cavendish Mall. So far, so good. It was clear to me at this time, as it is today, that in the public interest, if the city and the council want to entertain such a proposal, it should be met with 2 conditions. Number 1, the Kollel should give up Parkhaven as it agreed to do in 2015. Number 2 condition, the Kollel should give up their use of and tax exemptions on all the rabbis' residences on Eldridge. We as a city are not obliged to go through with this transaction. If we're doing it to accommodate, there has to be a quid pro quo. This would be only fair way of dealing with the Kollel, As a city, we're not obliged to sell the Kollel any land. We are not obliged to accommodate or even to reward the Kollel for operating a non-conforming synagogue and using it as a base to launch other tax-exempt properties. If the council feels it's fair and just to offer the Kollel public land, it must do so with the public interest in mind. The proposal is to operate a place of worship, celebration for community. They will also use our services. We will not receive any taxes for those services. All the infrastructure that will go into providing them with services, snow clearance, waste pickup, wastewater treatment, we will not be compensated. The taxpayers will not be compensated. The very least that the city should request is that the Kollel give up their main establishment on Park Haven, as was agreed in 2015, and all the other properties which house the so-called rabbis and residents. Not to do so is to give the Kollel an unfair advantage over other established and other non-conforming synagogues and taxpayers that are coming into our community, even as we speak. This is where I say this is a very bad precedent. Not only are we tolerating, but we are creating a very slippery slope. And I am not prepared, unfortunately, at this time, to approve of this project, as I did for the rezoning, because I don't feel that the conditions are fair. And going forward, we're going to create a situation where we're going to have a lot of requests from other organizations, and this council is putting themselves in a situation where they're not going to be able to negotiate those requests. Now is the time. Now is the time to say clearly what we need in exchange for giving up public land to another organization. So that's the reason why I will be voting against this. And don't forget that there's also a rezoning process that's going to happen. I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. That's a completely, that's the next step. But this is the first step, and at this time, the conditions are not there for me to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burku. Any further discussion? Councillor Sabat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Burku is meshing different conditions for two different contracts with two different councils, by the way. I'm just going to say a couple of words on this matter. I won't take much time. I think we've shamefully, I should say, debated this for way too long. The community in question has waited patiently for years to come to see this vote. I wish them hatzlacha. I wish them continued success and growth, and bien sûr beaucoup de smachot. That said, people need to understand that this particular vote is passionate because there are legacy implications, cultural implications, and political implications. The fact still remains that this council has been faced with many decisions and obstacles that previous council chose not to resolve. This is one of them. What I want to remind my colleagues here today, while some are voting no, that on May 2nd, we will be sitting together remembering Yom HaShoah, a time where historically people have desired the burning and eliminating of these types of institutions. We should feel proud that we are able to see this growth in our neighborhood. We should be proud to see communities flourish and cherish within the boundaries of Côte Saint-Luc. This should be viewed as a privilege, not a nuisance. That being said, I believe it's important for all congregations in Côte Saint-Luc to be aware that while we are always thrilled to see community organizations grow, we, as community leaders, are all respectful of our neighbors, our residents, and each other. When that happens, the likelihood of future protests for projects like this will be weak. Nonetheless, I do believe that we have an issue with pop-up synagogues and some of the implications that for our residents and our neighborhoods. One thing last council has not dealt with as of yet is how to deal with these houses and duplexes that become places of worship without proper zoning. Some safety measures are at play as well. On that point, I want to be very clear, because last council did not deal with this. I'm in favor of grandfathering those who make the necessary renovations to make them safe and provide full inspection report to the city. They should also provide proof of insurance, as well as an evacuation plan if, God forbid, something happens. Let me be clear. that I will be the first counselor to show up at a pop-up synagogue that does not have proper zoning or proper safety measures in either a house or a duplex that pretends to be a residential property and is actually, in fact, a synagogue. And I will make sure that I push this council to actually shut it down. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Spag. Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? So Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to commend and thank Rabbi Ben-Oliel for all his hard work in the community. And I want to wish him all the best. I appreciate and understand the pursuit of a new home for the congregation. At the same time, I'm dealing with a dilemma. In my 13 years as a counselor, I was doing the rough math. There's been about 7,000 votes that I've had to take, and this is probably one of the most difficult ones. I think back, and as Councillor Burku mentioned, I think back to a discussion we had a few years ago over this topic. And I think back to my job as a city councilor to try to do what's in the best interest of the city and to try to do what is reasonable, what a reasonable person would do. In 2015, at the time, as Councillor Burku mentioned, Rabbi Ben-Oliel was looking to create a new home for the congregation. And at that time, he signed an agreement, and I just want to read a sentence or two from the agreement. The agreement says, I declare, acknowledge, agree, and undertake that immediately and automatically thereafter the use of the current property shall be as currently zoned, and this is the property on Park Haven, namely, solely and exclusively for residential purposes and not to be used for any other use, including rabbi residence or any other accessory religious use, and therefore subject to residential municipal taxation according to the applicable role, value, and force from time to time. We furthermore shall take the necessary steps to advise all necessary authorities that the current property will no longer be tax exempt and will sign all documents at the relevant time to give full effect hereto. For me, it's reasonable to say, yes, you want a new home. The current home is a duplex. No matter what features that are added, it's still built as a duplex. It's not built to be a synagogue. It's not built to have the floors designed to withstand the weight of as many people as would be in a synagogue. And there's safety implications. No matter what additions you add, it's still not built. It's still not designed to be a synagogue. To me, it's reasonable to say you want a new home. It's reasonable for the city to say, yes, we will allow you to have a new home. We want you to have a new home. But it's also reasonable to say you want a new home, then you have to take your current home and convert it back to its original use, which is as a residential property, as a duplex. To me, that is reasonable. I'd hoped, and throughout our discussions, I'd hoped that there would have been a change, that we would have a new agreement similar to this, with the current date, with the current address, so that we could move forward, and I'd hoped that it would be unanimous, or virtually unanimous. But at this point, given that there is no agreement for this new property, where the new synagogue will be built and the current home will be converted back to residential, I therefore must vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Anybody else hasn't spoke? No, you haven't spoken yet.
No.
Councillor Kobach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not an easy thing to say. I agree with everything that Councillor Burku said, so I won't repeat any of what she did say, but I came at it really from a very different angle. For me, it's about the real estate. Location, location, location. And as a city, watching our city grow and welcoming communities and religious communities and watching our city grow, the impact on public works will become only greater. And it's really the last piece of strip of land that we have that we could use for our own municipal purposes. The building is old. It will need to be rebuilt. The footprint of that building will grow. And we as a city, our council, is not being mindful of the fact that we as a city will need that for future growth. And as the rabbi himself said, the building that they're going to put up is not even big enough to accommodate what they have. It's already too small. So for me, the question begs is, then why go forward with this? You will not have access to the parking lot because we are a 24/7 operation. The building across the street, which is Maimonides Hospital, the parking lots and streets are full. So I don't know where the community or the religious community is now going to park. The dog run owners already take up some of the space that's there early in the morning, late in the afternoon. There is no on-street parking, so I don't know where that's going to happen. So for me, this is a real estate problem. The other problem I have is something that was left in the contract, and I've discussed it with our legal people, but for me, it's still an open-ended question. As good as all the contract law is, there's something there that says if it's impossible to realize one of the above described conditions within the stipulated delays, despite all necessary steps having been executed, the delay may be extended by a written agreement. It doesn't say who the written agreement will be between. There's no structure. It doesn't say when, it doesn't say with who, and it doesn't say if there's an end. So for me, as a city, that's a weakness in our end of the contract. So I have a problem signing such a contract. The other thing is that it limits our future growth, our future development as a city to service you. When Chabad ran into this problem because they wanted to take over a spot that I felt the same way about, it was real estate, we worked together and we found a better place. And you will all agree that Chabad and the location is a success today. And I'm willing to sit down and try and work out and find a better location. I even made the suggestion at one point that you purchase a duplex next door, and I would be the first one to be willing to rezone that area where you're in now and make that a bigger building, better to accommodate who you have, and maybe even put in an underground garage while you're at it. Because it is about location. It is about the real estate. It is about your future growth. If you're already too small, then this isn't the right fit. Not for you, and not for the city of Côte Saint-Luc. And so for that reason, plus everything else that Councillor Burku said, which I already said 20 years ago, that there's too many pop-up synagogues in non-zoned areas. For all those reasons and the ones that I've just said, I can't vote for this at this point in time. While I welcome all the religious communities, and especially right now while we're facing the stupid kind of legislation that's coming down from the government, I'm grateful that we have a strong voice in our Jewish community, but it's not the right space. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken, because I'm going to speak before anybody else speaks again, not so certain if it's necessary to have second and third discussions, but if anybody else who hasn't spoke, Mike, Councillor Coe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I think that this group, who you can see by the numbers here and the people I meet in the community, have been very patient. Is this the perfect solution? Perhaps not. Is there another solution? How much longer can we make them wait? I think they were very flexible. Their first attempt to be in the parking lot of Quartier Cavendish, they hoped that would work. The public didn't want it. They accepted that. We looked for a creative solution. I think this spot, I don't believe is going to, so there's no neighbors to be disturbed by it. Is it the perfect spot for them? Probably not. But I think they want to get their synagogue built, and I think we owe it to them to support them. They're important members of our community, and I will support this initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Anybody else who hasn't spoken? If not, then I'm going to speak next. Okay, so this has been a speech I've given before many times. First of all, when I was first elected, it was the expansion of Or Chaim Synagogue, and I went door to door. I was a young councillor, and we found ways for them to expand. And Chabad wanted to find a place, and it was voted down once and voted down twice, although I always was pushing for them finding a place. And eventually we found a location, and it was great, and they're prospering, and it's terrific. Now, I believe that a city grows based on what we talked about today, our volunteers, our educational institution, our religious institutions, and together it grows. And that's why it does warm my heart to see so many people here, because it clearly is a clear indication of the need for this type of service in our community, because what you do is more than just provide religious training and service, but all types of other programs within the buildings that you occupy. So I understand the good work that you do and what it provides our community in return for every bit of tax-exempt status that you might get based on provincial law, not the city's rules, the community benefits. So now, she's a great pleader, Councillor Burku, and she's a lawyer, but I'm also a lawyer. So now I'm going to plead as a lawyer and explain my view in a legal sense. Yes, the kollels have operated illegally. They weren't in the right zone, although they got tax-exempt status legally. And we are a city of tolerance, so we allowed it to go on. And now as a council, what we're trying to do is make things legal. So as soon as we have this institution properly zoned, and it becomes a legal synagogue, then the tax-exempt status that it will receive will be just as legal as Beth Israel Beth Aaron and Beth Zion and any other legal institution. And then this legal synagogue will then have a right under provincial law to receive all the tax-exempt status that the other buildings, ancillary buildings, receive now from an illegally zoned institution. So what we are doing as a council, in effect, is making everything legal. That's our job, to make everything legal. And by creating this legal synagogue in a legal zone with legal tax-exempt status, the ancillary institutions that might not be in the right zone, and that's an issue we have to discuss throughout our whole city, their tax-exempt status issue becomes legal because provincial law allows it. So you can always argue everything on a legal way, but I think we're doing things right on a legal point. The problem of Stiebels is not just your problem. It's an issue that I don't call a problem. I think it does a lot of good for our community, but yet it's something we do need to deal with it. And whenever I get calls from residents who tell me that they have a problem with a Stiebel, I say, you're right, you know, garbage, noise, parking. These are serious issues, and we as a city have an obligation to deal with them. And you, as the leader of the institution, have an obligation to deal with them by speaking to your neighbors and finding solutions for parking, garbage, and noise. And we need to see, as a council, what we're going to do with all these Stiebels, because we can't just let things go willy-nilly throughout the city. We need to find solutions. And this particular solution that we are discussing today is part and parcel of finding solutions. Yes, I would like to see you, like all the religious institutions, to be in legal zones. This one next to Public Works, the next one perhaps moving into existing institutions that have empty space and need vibrant communities to use them. And I see other communities moving close by to some of those big institutions with future plans maybe to move in them. And that's the right way to go. They're there, the buildings are there, they're legally zoned, they don't pay taxes, because they're religious institutions, and they should be in the big buildings like Beth Zion, Beth Israel, Tifereth Beth David, Jerusalem, and this kollel, which will be a legal institution. So on a legal point, I think we're doing all things the right way. Yes, the issue of Stiebels will have to continue to work with the community to find the right locations for them, to help them relocate into the proper places. But I do understand that when you're in a zone that's a residence, and you're a Miriam home, or you're a nunnery, or you're a rabbi in residence, then you're providing some type of service to the community that is in response to the requirements and needs of that community. And clearly the numbers that you are and the services that you provide show that our community wants what you do. So continue to do it in good health, for many years, and make our city great, together with our volunteers and our schools. And we as a council will have to figure out how to work with the community to solve the small problems that we do have, because we want our residents to be happy and ensure that if they're close to a synagogue or a Stiebel, that their lives are good and not impacted in a negative way. And that's our job, to try to find solutions to make the life as good as it can be for everyone, and providing the ability for schools and religious institutions and a community, a city council that works together with our volunteers to provide good service. We'll get there. So all that being said, I'm going to call for the vote. We have it moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So the vote is 5 in favor, 3 against. And now I will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 11B, Councillor Kujawski.
Whereas on August 13th, 2018, by Resolution 180837, the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approved an encroachment agreement pertaining to 5551 Cavendish Boulevard. Whereas the agreement must be registered as a deed of tolerance, whereas Resolution 180837 did not explicitly authorize the city's general council to sign the deed of tolerance, be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc hereby amends the aforementioned resolution so that the city's general council is hereby authorized to sign the deed of tolerance, which gives effect to the aforementioned encroachment agreement.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky, seconded by Councillor Burko. Any discussion on the fence? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item number 12, urban development. 12A, Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Should I read the preamble? Yeah. Whereas the City of Côte Saint-Luc issued a public call for tenders based on a bid weighting evaluation system under tender C-05-19 for the reconstruction and repairs of city sidewalks and received 2 bids from Ventec Inc. and Kojalac Inc. respectively. Whereas according to the city's bid weighting and evaluation system, the bid received from Ventec Inc. did not receive the minimum average interim score of 70 points necessary in order for the bid to be declared conforming. Whereas furthermore, Ventec Inc. was found documentarily non-conforming, whereas the city deems Kojalac Inc. to be the sole conforming bidder. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc, the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby declares Ventec Inc.'s bid non-conforming, therefore the bid is rejected. That pursuant to the terms of tender number C-05-19, the City Council hereby awards a contract to Kojalac Inc., the sole conforming bidder, for up to a maximum of $389,404.45 plus applicable taxes, that the described expenses shall be financed from loan bylaw 2442 previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et occupation du territoire, that the City of Côte Saint-Luc City Treasurer has issued Treasurer Certificate TC19-0075 on April 2nd, 2019, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky, seconded by Councillor Burku, I believe. This is, yeah, 12A. Any discussion? Sidewalk reconstruction 2019. Moved and seconded, all in favor. Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item 12B, Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved, I'll read the preamble again. Whereas the City of Côte Saint-Luc issued a public call for tenders under tender number C-03-19C, seeking a supplier for the construction of a wiffle ball field in Irving Singerman Park and received 3 bids. Whereas the bid received from Groupe Vespo was found documentarily non-conforming, whereas the lowest conforming bid was received from Technopark in the amount of $47,151 plus applicable taxes. Be it resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby declares the bid received from Groupe Vespo documentarily non-conforming, therefore this bid is rejected, that the City Council hereby awards a contract to Technopark for the construction of a wiffle ball field in Irving Singerman Park pursuant to the terms of tender C-03-19C in the amount of $47,151 plus applicable taxes, that furthermore the city may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras if required, that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures, that the described expenses shall be financed from loan bylaw 2481 previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et occupation du territoire, that Treasurer Certificate 19-0065 dated March 22nd, 2019 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expense.
Moved by Councillor Kajavsky, seconded by Councillor Burku, if you wish. The wiffle ball, Singerman Park. Wiffle ball, Singerman Park. Moved and seconded, all in favor.
Hallelujah.
Unanimous for wiffle ball. Now we move to item 13, which is Councillor Burko's urban development. Bring down the screen. Is it down? It's down.
Yeah.
Okay.
For those of you who are here for the demolition meeting, these are the elevations showing the construction of 3 new single-family detached dwellings. And I'm going to read the resolution. Okay. I might as well read in French. Proposé il est résolu que le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale reçu le 21 février 2019 montrant la construction d'une nouvelle habitation unifamiliale détachée sur le lot proposé 6225286, habitation A, au 5627 5629 Wolseley est préparé par le groupe PD Architectes pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 26 février 2019 soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. So that's the first one. That's habitation A.
Okay, so that's a
Secondé par.
seconded by Councillor Kovac.
Okay, do you have the?
Any discussion on that, or you're
Want to
explaining
just
it more?
show
Before you vote?
the rendering? Okay.
This is
Yeah.
B now.
Okay, but just show, okay, leave it there, it's fine. Okay,
You're not seeing the third, though.
okay,
Oh, wait,
afterward,
vote
when we
again.
get, okay,
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay.
now we'll go to B.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, I don't have B.
Wildwood.
Page 400.
Page 400, okay,
Or here.
all right, yeah, thanks. Okay. It's going,
Second, just the second page, just turn it over.
okay. Bon. This is, where do you see B? No,
Isn't it that?
no,
Isn't it just
no,
not this thing?
no, no.
Wildwood.
Okay, we're coming. No, that's Wildwood. Bon, so now we're on to B, the neighboring house. So be it resolved, the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received February 21st, 2019, showing the construction of a new detached single-family dwelling on proposed lot 6225285, dwelling B, at 5627-5629 Wolseley, and prepared by Le Groupe PDA Architects for the Planning Advisory Committee of February 26, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
So you're doing
B is Wildwood.
B was Wildwood. B was Wildwood.
So you read Wellesley
So
again.
which ones, you just did Wolseley again?
We did Wellesley. Now you're on Wildwood.
No, there's
Oh,
3 resolutions for
okay.
Wolseley. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry.
okay, so that's Wolseley B, and now we have to do Wolseley C.
So moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. Now
All
C.
right, now we're doing C. Thank you, Stephen. We're coming. 1 second.
It's not
Okay.
clear on the agenda.
All right. Now we're on to C, which is a neighboring property. Que le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale reçu le 19 février 2019 montrant la construction d'une nouvelle habitation unifamiliale détachée sur le lot proposé 6225284, habitation C, au 56275629 Wolseley, est préparé par les architectures design Pierrot Fachin, dessinateur pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 26 février 2019 soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion? Same story. All in favor? Anyone opposed? It's in favor. Carried unanimously. And we move now
To Wildwood.
Wildwood.
Okay. So Wildwood is an extension in the back of the house. Be it resolved that the Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program received February 21st, 2019, showing the addition of a rear 2-story extension to an existing single-family detached dwelling on lot 105-3775 at 5727 Wildwood, and prepared by Mrs. T. Kaleji, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of February 26, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc. And you can see the house, and also if you want to show the back of the house, that's important. There is the back extension with the balcony done in a nice charcoal treatment to allow them to have an extension to the existing single-family detached dwelling.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously.
Okay.
Move on to
Merton. Now we're dealing with a house on Merton. That the site, be it resolved, the site planning and architectural integration program received February 14, 2019, showing the construction of a new front vestibule to an existing single-family detached dwelling on lot 1560622 at 6529 Merton, and prepared by Mr. G. Potier, technologist, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of February 26, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac.
This is just to create a vestibule in the front of the house, and it's a small addition to the front of the house.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to Wavell.
Okay, so there's two houses on Wavell that are semi-detached, and they each get their own resolution, but it's the same project. Que le plan d'implantation de l'intégration architecturale reçu le 18 février 2019, montrant des modifications et l'ajout d'une deuxième étage à une habitation unifamiliale semi-détachée existante sur le lot 105 41 42 au 74 89 Wavell est préparé par Mme Azoulay, architecte, pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 26 février 2019, soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. So as you can see on the rendering here, it's two semi-detached houses that are now going to have a second floor. And it's actually very nicely done. They're not identical, but very complementary, and in the look and in the treatment of the materials.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion? Councillor Kovac.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to compliment the architect and the two neighbors who managed to, my 29 years sitting on council, I have never seen a semi-detached neighbors do something of this magnitude and elegance and improvement to their living space, and beautifully done, and it should be a lesson to everybody. Don't go to a technician, go to a real architect, and you will have a better result. And for us as a city to see this kind of growth, beautifully done, beautifully integrated with the neighborhood, it's an example for everybody else to learn from.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Absolutely.
Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and now we move to
The
final Wavell.
The second Wavell.
Final Wavell.
The second Wavell, which, as I mentioned before, is very complementary to the first one, but not identical, which really is very special in its treatment. We really liked it. That the site planning and architectural integration program received February 18, 2019, showing modifications and the addition of a second-story extension to an existing single-family semi-detached dwelling on lot 105-4141 at 7491 Wavell, and prepared by Mrs. L. Azoulay, architect, for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of February 26, 2019, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kovac. Any discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed. Carried unanimously. We move to item 14. Councillor Kovac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the council takes the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in May 2019 as follows: to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary in the best interest of the City of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held in May 2019 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Cohen. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Other business. Second question period. Rabbi Benolio.
I'd like to start by thanking the mayor and council for the great effort that you put to run our cherished city. And the compliments that were given were definitely touched me, even though I don't really deserve them. It's my saintly father, who's in Israel right now, which really deserves them, who gave 40 years of his life to build this community. May God grant him long life. There are many things that were said tonight which aren't accurate, in my opinion, and many things that bring up different emotions. I'd like to maybe start with one idea. It is obvious that one of the main things which seems to be, which was mentioned twice or 3 times maybe, is that the fact that the Park Haven property is still going to stay exempted from taxes, which I understand is a $8,000 loss to the city of Côte Saint-Luc. I think it's obvious that the city, that the community would be more than happy to pay those taxes if we could get a property that would be the proper size that our community needs. In the past, when things were done for the community, there was a nicer, a better potential put for the community to grow. Right now, we're talking about a property of 1,090 square meters. We are, it's a community that, thank God, has a lot of activity. We need a lot more land. And if originally, I guess it wasn't just the new council that had decided this. When the councilors originally decided to shut down the referendum, which in our opinion was a no-brainer that we were going to win, because it would cause strife.
What's the
in the
question period,
community.
though? If we want to have a whole discussion, you can meet us and we'll have a lengthy one.
I'll take half of the time that I listened. There is a lot of, it was promised at the time that we were going to get an 1,800 square meter plus place. We got from the city a map of a land that we were going to get. Then it became that no, it would be 1,200, it would be 600, and we're not complaining. We're going to take whatever we could take. But I think that's something that could fix up this problem and could make the community feel comfortable to pay the city taxes on the Park Haven property, would be to be offered a property that would be big enough for our community. The same reason that right now we're taking this property, it's no different than a parent who has a child which is very sick and goes to the hospital and he's told, you're better off staying outside and waiting until we have a nice room that's big enough to accommodate you. And the parents are saying, yeah, but the child is dying. He needs medical help right now. Our community needs help right now. We're not asking for luxury. We're asking for a basic necessity. I also find it quite small idea to concentrate on $8,000 when our community has consistently brought in at least 5 to 10 families every single year, buying properties over here, bringing up the prices, bringing up your tax assessments, bringing up your tax revenue, not by $8,000, not by $30,000, by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And having an appreciation for that is something which is very important.
So
Furthermore,
we do appreciate it. It is a question
going-
period.
I'm
But
gonna
if we
get-
could find a bigger space for you, we would, because I hear that was your question. So the question I'm getting is, it would be nice to have a bigger space. If we could
Yeah,
find a
but
bigger
the point-
space, we would.
the point is that the aggravation which is being caused because there isn't a bigger space. Also, it hurts me very much that the Quebec government clearly understands that when a community has rabbis that it needs to reside, that it gets tax exempted. And here I'm in the Jewish community, and we are constantly bringing back up that no, it's not fair that you're using the legal law. We're just this is what the law was made for. We're using our rights. We would like to have respect. We would like to be appreciated, and we appreciate. And I really hope, and I ask you, please, if we could find a way that we could have a bigger land. I personally have made a visit this week to Beth Zion, have made a visit this week in Beth Israel, and I have sat down with the rabbi. I have made efforts, and I constantly will make efforts. I'm on the same team. We're all on the same team. We're looking to make this work. Let's find a way that we could have an honorable place where we don't have to feel disrespect, we don't have to step on top of each other because we don't have where to be, and to please make an
Anyway,
effort in this
you're
direction.
definitely part of our team. Even some of the comments that were made by the councillors that dissented from the voting in favor of the project have similar views. We all want the community to grow, and we all would love you to have a bigger space. We voted 5-3 in favor of this space, but I think the council is all in favor of finding a bigger space in a legal zone, for sure. We didn't get there. So
In
there
the
are questions
present
on this one.
space, in the present space, right now, we're talking about half of
We
the
know,
mountain.
it's a beer
Would we
burn.
be able to look at the full mountain?
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like our operations would allow it. There's concerns for the future of the operations. We're giving away part of public land in an area we can. We don't have too many options left of public space. But we'll continue to work with you throughout the city and see what other options come up. We have this one for now.
Thank you very much, and I really want to thank all the councillors and the mayor for the goodwill. Thank you.
Thank you. So call for adjournment, moved by Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. All in favor? We are adjourned.